everyone. Koigi Doordarshan Manipur na paring nai na sandok chaba puthok chaba ai koigi learning English grammar ge anup episode amda mayam pumnamok putaram na okchari koi mamang gi chayol da ai koi deduction and speculation gi matang da ai koi nainaminagani haina ai panjaramane adu karino haibse koi mayam yengmina se modal verbs sigi usage mayam ama koi nainaduna lakle for the last many weeks ko ado ngasi koina yengdu si kain haikan stai da aikoi gi possibility aikoi gi thodok ama masi thokpa yai oiramgani haibasi deduct toba or conclusion ta ba or waroi san warep loba masi oirani natraga oiraroi haibasi lobagi masi kamaina ayamba kamai loge hakanda aikoina migi paudam mayam or deductions or analysis tor kan da aikoi urakanda magi pibam oiriba situation pibam jingsi urama tam da masi oirani natra oiraroi masi yani yadong mali yaroido mali haimna chingmsing si akoi deduct toba or speculate toba or akoina msi oirani haibasi mayam ama koi every day to day life to akoi tauriba adugumba mawong amani hingba akoina lifestyle simaina akoina warep ama low matamda masi mayam akoi gi sigi mawong se akoina taurakan se akoina warep lawnei or khongthang thange habse akoina akoi mayam anobo from nate aduna akoina hariba deduction and speculations masi kram haina warep law masi oirani oiroidage oiroi haimna ching masing si aikoi masi utnabagi da makta aikoi model verb manga khak sisinai ada hariba model manga sing du kai no koi myam yengmina si kudam have the must and should haibasi koi yengmina si must and should koi mamang da of course we have discussed the word must or should must ka should ka gi koi season abham se koi mamang ge cheol singtha koi nainagra bane adumak po akoi yengmina se example ai khra pijarake the match is starting from next week the players must be working hard for the match sikeno match si mathangi chayol da haurani haibasi khange ado moigi sanaroi mayam singse mano udri speaker sina adubu uda targasu match sina naksal abanina player sing kanna hotnaramgani match to sananabagi damakta moi ngamnanabagi damakta haibasi conclude tawi deduct tawi or speculate tawi ko ma deduction tawi habidi waroisan warep se mana tasalle habidi oiramani habse masi soidramni tawramani habse masi utleba adu karam kada masi kamaina kari modal verb season ga hakana must habse season ko aduna the match is starting from the next week sanabasi mathangi chayol da haurani the player must be working hard for the match the player must masi tawramani kanna honaramani haise deduct taweba kaino haikanda magi evidence ko my uriba or pausi or my news se tabu matam steida haibdi match se mathangi chayolda haurani haibsdeida aduna masi koina ure keno haikanda must haibsi aikoina modal verb amani masi kaida sina ge haikanda they are used for deduction and speculations ma'am confusion chat kum si ko ma'am deduction or speculation haibdi masai magi informations adagi magi evidence magi sakhi sabondu urakanda or hairiba pausing do tarakan steida mansi oiramani haina deduct toba or warep loba or lotion ba waji masi oirani haibsi matam steida must haibsi season should haibsi season haibsi koi makata na example the yeng mansi the discussion should be over soon moigi nainariba khana nainarib se lo shalani tuna kaigino it's been a few hours already moina wari sanai se pung amani sujale pung kaya no moi wari sana lakrabne aduna the discussion must be over soon should be over soon masi loibam thoi the discussion should haibse kaino should is another modal verbs which is used for deduction and speculations based on evidence ko haiba magi evidence uriba mana uriba mayam sing tariba mayam sing sigi man conclude toba or deduct toba the seasonaba adugum shoot. For example, amuka and haizarke, the discussion should be over soon. Mo discussion do tuna loy shalani khange loy loibam to e haine ma haisi kai gino ha kan pung mayam mo kuire moina wari sanar is discussion to is yam kuira amnina loy shalani. The discussion should be over soon. Why? Because it's been a few hours already. Go. Adana maside ko ino urisi kaino ha kan these are maside urisi kaino strong deduction based on evidence and expectations. Masi soidra bani ko haidi game ji match si mathang week to oram nina sung soidre ko moi soidana players sing do kanna moi thabak kanna moi hotnari moi practice story hai ngai do ko the match is starting from next week. The players must be working hard for the match. Masi kind of strong deduction ne ko masi oirado ba sung soidana masi soidra ai uru de moi hotna ba do adu I know. It's for sure the player must be working very hard. The strong deduction based on evidence or expectation. The discussion should be over soon. Why? Because it's been for hours. It's been few hours already. Strong deduction based on evidence and expectation. A might kut kasing minasi. Masisu might kut kasing. They might be running late. Why? Because they are very slow. Ko moi soidana thengani, they might be late. Why? Because they are very slow. Moi di am tapna dum hotna le tapna dum tole bani moi di aduna moi di thengani hai ni se. They might be running late because they are very slow. Aduna mana ma thengani haina mana hai se ke da no maram di moi adum moi di tapna tawi hai ne ko. He could be Spanish judging by his accent. He could be Spanish. Maji misi Spanish orangani. Kaigino magi wa ngangi ba magi action magi leiton mana ngangi mong sina khange ma Spanish oramani haisi kaino deduction ni kamai to da evidence tagi uriba khudam changdam or magi phibam mai murti or ma ngangi ba mong duna utle khange kaino ma soidana kaino he might be ko he could be Spanish. He could be Spanish. Why? Because judging his action, because of his action, my action to matungena. Aduna might could kasi kaino hai kan say that they are used to express possibility or lower probability. Lower probability ngai gi must ka should kasi di masi soidna oirani magi probability or magi kano se khoi magi possibility si khra wang na lei adubu hairiba must ka should kasi ga aikoi might ka could ka aikoi yengnarpa matamda might ka could ka gi magi probability oithokpa yaba masi oiramgani haibasi khra handhaba level da lei degree of possibility se handai hebni se aina haijening is ko adana makata na can't or can't haibasi khoi yengmina se masi hairiba can't or can't haibasi kaino kai the used to ga kan it is used to express a strong deduction that is something is impossible masi oiroi dabani haibasi masi phongdokpada sizinaba adugumba koigi modal verb amani kaido matamda strong deduction haibidi manan phibam mayam sin nenaru kanda deductor pa or conclusion waroisan oina asidi yararoi haibasi mai oiriba phibam mayam sing se yengura kan stada akoina masi sung oiroi haibasi express to with that sizinaba adugumba modal verbs amni. For example, he cannot or he can't or he can't make any mistake in that area. He is an expert. Kudumana mana toriba thausing do ma sidi soiroi ma sungsoi soiroi haini mai. He cannot or he can't make any mistake in that area. Why? Because he's an expert. Ma the expert ni masigi area sida ma si yamna expert oiraba hai singloba adugumba misak amani na ma di sungsoi soiroi haini. He cannot or he can't make any mistake in that area. Sigi area sida ma soiroi haini ko haibidi kaino haikanda aduna can't haibo masigi modal verb se it is used to express a strong deduction that something is just impossible or nearly impossible. Oiroidabni haine. Adana he can't make any mistake in this area. Why? Because he is an expert. My expert oiba maramna sig areas ma soiro haine. This can't be or this can't be right answer. It doesn't make sense. Nang piribo pakhumdu masi chumoy chumam thokte haine. This can't be the right answer because it does not make any sense. Masi arthamok chen de nang piriba pakhumdo adan masi chumoy haine masi impossible oiba situation ama can't haibo waisina masi koina ubo phang masi ul leko the tickets can't be sold out already. I just talked to the organizers. Couldn't have the football match ama leireng khalasi organizing team or concert ama isegi concert ama leireng khalasi ado mi si yaman khidana ticket che phangui da bi film la ko matam da organizer da hangura kan stay da ticket yam leiri hai la kan da mi amana ticket leitre har ko matam da it is impossible. I've just talked to the organizer na ticket yam leiri hai ri aduna noina ticket loigre hai su leiri hai ni aduna misi keno the ticket can't be sold out already. I just talked to the organizers. Organizers da what is hana rubu second evidence amane ko. Masi magi akogi nangna hairibu poto oideroi maramdi I have examined, I have analyzed, or I have deducted the results ko. Masi results se aina hangurakan da la amnina masi oirona haido oithokte oiroi. The ticket can't be sold out already. I just talked to the organizers. Organizer hangura la abne haine ko. Aduna stay da koina can't have a YC masi koigi modal verbs amne which is used to express a strong deduction that something is impossible. Masi karigumba ama oiroi oidre haibasi yam strong kano koigi deduction amaga loina my evidence ama loina sakhi uraba or mayam nai naru kanda koi osidi oiroi haibasi phongdok nanabagi damakta sizinaba adugumba modal verb amani yengminase koi ai summary dai uchage deduction and speculation chigi masigi table si yengbiu masdeida koina 5 models sizinai ngasai panjakib dune 5 models to there are 5 models which are used for deduction and speculations. Karam models now must, should haibamne, aduga might, could haibamne, aduga can't haibamne. The must, should have a strong deduction based on evidence and or expectation. Ko masidi masi soidrabani, masi oiradabani or must or should have a yam strong deduction ko based on evidence and expectation. Might, could have seen expressing a possibility or lower probability. Sagi must ka should ka di kitang handarak pa mayay da layba ko magi probability magi percentage yam handabai tar. The can't have seen it expresses a strong deduction that something is not true or highly unlikely or nearly impossible. Oiroi da ba have see magi strong deduction na naro kanda nganaro kanda sanaro kanda or si the oiroi have see kanga kanda koina sizinaba adugumba modal verb omni can't have si ko makata na koi mem yengminasi modal verbs are used in giving advice ko advice pibo matamda akoi modal verbs is sizinai kudamon have the advice ida koina giving advice piba adige suggestions ko koina suggest to wiba nang adu tordi phani haibna chingba recommendations adu to ko masi tawbo phagani suggestions or recommendations adagi asking for advice si akoina advice si piba khaktana tana mingon de isu advice lobo matamda aikoi modal verbs we use or we employ the modal verbs to seek or to ask advice from someone else and to offer help mingonda mating pangnanabagi damakta aikoi help pinanaba matamda mating piba matamda or offer piba matamda aikoi the modal verbs. For example, can I help you? Can have a say aikoi modal verb amani aduna offer help offer to matam da we use modal verbs khoi mathang khoi mem yengminasi must and should haibasi masi akuna recommend over da karigumba ma suggestion piba matam da or recommend to matam da yamna strongly yamna maru oina sizinaba wahi masi must and should haibasi khoi sizinai must and should are the strongest recommendation or suggestion words we use in English language. For example, you must exercise regularly. Haisi masi recommend torini or suggestion pini. You must exercise regularly. Yam apaba aduguma pautak amani. Aduna you must nang tawdaba yadi. Yam strongest oiba suggestion or strongest oiba koi recommendation pi matamda you must do that. It's a very good thing to do. You must exercise regularly. Haibsi keno must haibsi masi strongest recommendation words never. Atopa maga ay yengminasi. You should exercise. Haibsi su you should exercise regularly. Haibsi should and must haibsi ay koi strongest recommendation words ne. You must come and meet him. Nang laktabi yaroy adu ma uno mi amagi matang ne ko. Because he is so gorgeous. Maxi yam na mong taba mi amani. Loy makta mong tai. He is so gorgeous. You must come and meet him. Nang soy na laktabi adi. Nang lakninga lao lakninga su kasukai di hibernate say. You must come and meet him. Why? Because he is so gorgeous. Maxi yam na mong taba. Adugumba panathan ba misak amani adu nang laktabi adi. Hani sikeno is a strong recommendation. Is a strong suggestion never see the pirize adu kai decision kari no hariba models karam decision hai kada must and should have say they are the strongest recommendation words that we find in English language. Could seeing see could gives us the option can I say could see akoi option oina koina masi nang na masi tauge tauro sudum to haibigi option nang na piba ningonda adumatam stay da koina could have the season. For example, you could consider taking a vacation. You've been busy and pretty tired. Nang yamna nang thabak ta yan chillaga nang pothaba bau khangdre context ko potaw khangdre adagi nang yamna chokthare aduna you could consider taking a vacation. Aina kanbada suggestion pi ne mai si ko nang you could consider taking a vacation. See option never yaradi nang vacation chuti khar lothoga koi tho so highway mong ne yadragadi khangdre du yaragadi nang khar potharo nang thabak yam chin mangre nang yam chin tired oire nang emotionally stressed out tawre duna nang kitang potharo vacation taraga kitang nuai tho ro highway mong ne option piba adu kanga sidakai siznege haikanda you could consider. You must or you should haragadi masi nang tawdabi yade masidi option laiti haibani adu you could consider taking a vacation haisidi you could haibasti keno kanda could gives the option masi nang tawrusu yai tawdrusu yai adu suggestion amani tawbi yai phai haibigi wakhalloni ko aduna it is giving some suggestions with options ko adu could haibasidi koina suggestion piba the option ga loinana piba suggestion piba matamda koina could haiba modal verb se seasonai ko might is used for formal suggestion ko masi yamna aremba suggestion that formal suggestion da koina seasonai might have a way say for example you might want to come to visit me for a cup of tea. You might like to visit me for the cup of tea. Nang yaragadi cha aiga thakminasi ai yumda lao haisi ai yumda lakpa yai nang sangagadi ai ka cha thakminaba ka cha cup amamam thakminaba yai aduna nang lao haisi keno you might want to visit you might want to come to visit me for a cup of tea. Masikeno akanda it is used for formal suggestions. If you are free in the evening, you might like to come to visit me too for a cup of tea. Ko aiga cha thakmina si yaragadi la o haijikeno say might have see it is used for formal suggestions. Can yangsi can is informal substitute for could. Can si akoi ngasai gi could see optional akoina option ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ option ꯄꯤꯔꯒ suggestion ꯄꯤꯕꯗ ꯁꯤꯖꯤꯟꯅꯩ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯤ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯃꯃꯥꯡꯗ ꯎꯈ꯭ꯔꯦ ꯑꯗꯨꯅ ꯀꯨꯠꯀꯤ ꯃꯍꯨꯠꯇ can ꯁꯤ ꯁꯤꯖꯤꯟꯅꯕ ꯃꯇꯝꯗ informal ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯃꯑꯣꯡꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯁꯤꯖꯤꯟꯅꯩ ꯈꯨꯗꯝ ꯑꯣꯏꯅ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗ ꯑꯍꯜ ꯂꯃꯟꯒꯤ ꯃꯔꯛꯇ ꯅꯠꯇꯕ ꯅꯍꯥꯁꯤꯡꯒꯤ ꯃꯁꯨꯡ ꯃꯃꯥꯟꯅꯕꯁꯤꯡꯒꯤ ꯃꯔꯛꯇ ꯌꯥꯝ informal ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯃꯑꯣꯡꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯀꯨꯠꯀꯤ ꯃꯍꯨꯠꯇ can ꯁꯤ ꯁꯤꯖꯤꯟꯅꯕ ꯌꯥꯏ for example you can pick up John from the airport as on your way back ꯁꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯁꯤ ꯀꯩꯅꯣ you can pick up John from the airport on your way back ꯀꯣ ꯅꯪꯅ ꯍꯜꯂꯛꯄ ꯃꯇꯝꯗ ꯑꯦꯌꯔꯄꯣꯔꯠꯇꯒꯤ ꯖꯣꯟꯗꯣ ꯑꯃꯨꯛꯇꯪ ꯂꯧꯈꯠꯄꯤꯔꯛꯑꯣ ꯅꯪ pick up ꯇꯧꯕꯤꯔꯛꯑꯣ ꯍꯥꯏꯁꯤ you can suggestion ꯅꯤ ꯑꯗꯨ ꯃꯁꯤ ꯀꯩꯅꯣ ꯍꯥꯏ ꯀꯥꯟꯁꯤꯗꯩꯗ ꯃꯁꯤ informal ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯀꯨꯠꯇꯒꯤ ꯈꯔ informal ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯃꯑꯣꯡꯗ formal ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒꯗꯤ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯑꯍꯜ ꯂꯃꯟꯁꯤꯡ ꯏꯀꯥꯏ ꯈꯨꯝꯅꯕ ꯃꯑꯣꯡꯗ ꯈꯤꯇꯪ respectful ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯃꯑꯣꯡꯗ ꯁꯤꯖꯤꯟꯅꯕꯗꯨꯕꯨꯅꯤ formal ꯍꯥꯏꯁꯦ ꯑꯗꯨ informal ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒꯅ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯏꯁꯨꯡ ꯏꯃꯥꯟꯅꯕ ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯒꯤ ꯃꯔꯛꯇ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ friendsꯤꯡꯒꯤ ꯃꯔꯛꯇ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯌꯥꯝꯅ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ casual ꯑꯣꯏꯅ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯋꯥꯔꯤ ꯁꯥꯟꯅꯕꯗ ꯁꯤꯖꯤꯟꯅꯩ can ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯤꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯅ ꯃꯁꯤ you can pick up John from the airport on your way back ꯅꯪꯒꯤ ꯃꯈꯥ ꯇꯥꯕꯗ ꯅꯪꯒꯤ ꯅꯆꯥꯁꯤꯡ or ꯅꯅꯥꯎꯁꯤꯡꯗ ꯍꯥꯏꯕ ꯌꯥꯏ ꯃꯔꯨꯞ ꯃꯄꯥꯡꯁꯤꯡꯒꯤ ꯃꯔꯛꯇ ꯍꯥꯏꯕ ꯌꯥꯏ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯤ ꯐꯤꯕꯝꯗꯨꯗꯩꯗ can ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯦ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯁꯤꯖꯤꯟꯅꯩ you could ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒꯗꯤ little bit formal ꯑꯣꯏ ꯑꯗꯨꯕꯨ you can pick up John from the airport on your way back ꯅꯪ ꯌꯨꯝꯗ ꯍꯜꯂꯛꯄ ꯃꯇꯝꯗ ꯖꯣꯟꯗꯣ ꯑꯃꯨꯛꯇꯪ ꯂꯧꯈꯠꯂꯛꯑꯣ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯤ ꯀꯩꯅꯣ ꯍꯥꯏꯀꯥꯟꯗ it's a little bit informal way of telling something ꯀꯣ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯀꯩꯅꯣꯃ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ obligation ꯍꯥꯏꯒꯗ꯭ꯔꯥ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ or suggestion ꯇꯧꯔꯛꯄ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯃꯁꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯩꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ can ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯤ ꯁꯤꯖꯤꯟꯅꯩ shall ꯌꯦꯡꯁꯤ shall is not often used masi but in question form we can use it to give a suggestion ko ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ shall ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯤ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ question form ꯗ ꯋꯥꯍꯪ ꯍꯪꯉꯀꯥꯟꯁꯤꯗꯩꯗ suggestion ꯑꯃ ꯄꯤꯕ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯀꯔꯤꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯑꯃ suggest ꯇꯧꯕ ꯁꯤ ꯇꯧꯔꯗꯤ ꯐꯗꯧ ꯃꯥꯜꯂꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯕ ꯃꯇꯝꯗ ꯌꯥꯝ formal ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯃꯑꯣꯡꯗ shall ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯤ ꯁꯤꯖꯤꯟꯅꯩ for example shall we go for a walk ꯍꯥꯏꯁꯤ ꯀꯩꯅꯣ suggestion ꯅꯤ ꯑꯩꯈꯣই walking ꯉꯥꯛ ꯆꯠꯂꯨꯁꯤꯔꯥ ꯈꯣꯡꯅ ꯉꯥꯛ ꯆꯠꯁꯤꯔꯥ ꯍꯛꯆꯥꯡ ꯐꯅꯅꯕ ꯑꯌꯨꯛꯇ or ꯅꯨꯃꯤꯗꯥꯡ ꯋꯥꯏꯔꯝꯗ ꯆꯠꯄ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯤ ꯃꯑꯣꯡꯅꯤ ꯃꯥ ꯍꯥꯏꯁꯦ shall we go for a walk ꯍꯥꯏꯁꯦ suggestion ꯅꯤ ꯃꯁꯤ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯇꯧꯗꯕ ꯌꯥꯗꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯕ ꯅꯠꯇꯦ obligation ꯅꯠꯇꯦ ꯇꯧꯗꯕ ꯌꯥꯗꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯕ ꯅꯠꯇꯦ commandmentꯁꯨ ꯅꯠꯇꯦ it's just a suggestion ꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯣ suggestion ꯁꯤꯗꯩꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ shall ꯍꯥꯏꯕ ꯋꯥꯍꯩꯁꯤꯅ question ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ ꯃꯣꯗꯜꯁꯤꯅ ꯈ꯭ꯋꯥꯏ ꯃꯃꯥꯡꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ subjectꯀꯤ ꯃꯃꯥꯡꯗ ꯍꯥꯞꯄꯀꯥꯟꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ shall ꯍꯥꯏꯕ modal verbs ꯁꯤꯖꯤꯟꯅꯔꯀꯥꯟꯁꯤꯗꯩꯗ ꯌꯥꯝ suggestive ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯃꯑꯣꯡꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ suggestion ꯄꯤꯅꯅꯕꯒꯤꯗꯃꯛꯇ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ shall ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯤ question formꯗ ꯁꯤꯖꯤꯟꯅꯩ shall we go for a walk ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯤ native speakersꯤꯡꯅꯗꯤ shall we hay shall we go for a walk shall we go for a walk 하이브세 shall we go for a walk 하이브세 하이네 may yengse ko ma'am may can also be used in an informal context or informal context for example you may want to join the class to improve yourself you may want to may suggestion ni ado informal oiba mongda you may want to join the class to improve yourself nangna sa semdok chananabagi damakta nangna yaragadi pamjaragadi class yawba yai you may want to join the class to improve yourself haibasi masi koina uba phange makhatana aikoina uba yabse models which is not so much used or we can say that semi model haiba yai ought to haibase ma'am thengnaramani o u g s t o ko ought to haibase akoi english ki conversation da as well as writings ma'am da khom ma'am thengnai the haiba ought to si karino hai kanda they are semi modal verb haina ko wi ai haibidi kaino hai kanda moi si yam formal oiba old fashioned oiba adugumba suggestion tawnanaba or the karamba suggestion karino recommendation tawnanaba or karamba recommendation no hai kanda haibidi mingonda masi chi taw or suggest over or tawhannanaba tawmatanda strong recommendation nang tawgadabani haiba si akoi masi nang tawdabi ade tawgadabani haina recommend over or suggest over da strongly suggest over the seasonaba yam formal oiba semi ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ semi modal verb and haibe ought to haibse ko. For example on harabada, you ought to complete your work on time. You ought to have yam strong over recommendation ni nang tawsu tawdrasu haibnate nang tawdabi ade have you ought to complete your task on time. Nang matam chana nangi thabak sinagibdo nang losendabi ade haine si. So you ought to haibdi masi achoba yam strong over recommendation or strong over suggestions or command haisu haibi coincidida ma sida haise. Aduna ought to haibsi masi atopa mayam singsiga you must haibse ko must haibsiga koi adum yam nakna na masi uba yai must haibsisu strong recommendation ni strong suggestion ni nang tawdabi ade haibsi oiba yai adubu ought to ga must ka sizinabsidi kaino hakanda ought to haibsi it implies some ethical and moral obligation. Haibidi aikoigi mioiba amo oibagi aikoigi magi ethics magi character magi magun or magi kahatare koi morality aikoigi aphabagi magun gi matung ina obligation leiba haitare mi aphaba mi haibi inba amo oina nang madu tobum thui haibagi magi meaning se aikoigi connotation meaning se de yawe masigi ought to haibs de ko aduna khudamana haibda you ought to obey your parents haibaga you must obey your parents haiziga you ought to haibsidi kaino I can stay the nangi ima ipa na haibe ingadabani haibse masi ought to haik taragadi masi ethical and moral obligations mioiba amagi mioiba amoina mama mapa da haibe inba moi makapo na hingba or moigi matungina ingmasi darkar lay haibse khoi matam su loisilakle khoi loisin minasi masigi connotative meaning se ought to sida yawi sinda haise must or ought to haibse of course masi strong recommendation ni adubu anigi must ka ought to ga khenam se keno ought to haitaragadi khoi mioiba amagi machatta koi taxi kasi naiba or morally haitare morally sound oiba adugi ethical and moral obligations se yawgi meaning se yaw habne adana makhatana masigi summary ai ucharake giving advice ta coin ubse kaino hakanda must should laire masi strong recommendation word ni coin ugre haibdi masi yam kanna masi wo haitare must po haitare tawdabi adaba should po haitare ai tawdabi adaba or could haisidi gives advice with options haibdi nang la asu lak to say you could come to visit me for a cup of tea haisi nang la asu lak to say option ni masi nang on the advice piba adu you might haisina formally you can or you may has it informally shall has na masi yam toina the use to de adubu masi question form the use to matamda masi suggestion ne ko suggestion oina season ought to hargana formal or old fashioned strong ethical recommendation labor adugumba kui semi modal verb amane modal verb amane ngasi gidamti matang solution manasi mathangi cheolda anoba episode amagaloina ai laksege mayam degi ngasi gi damakta matang sida kaina nabagi yathang du nizari